Tip-Sters Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
That's me.
If you've got a tip on anything you find fascinating, an unsolved murder, a case you've heard of but want to know more about, the reason anyone would want to solve a Rubik's Cube in the first place, anything, tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's area code 832-847-7837. Or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. And now, here's your host. It's only April and she's already guessing about what she's going to wear for Halloween. Melissa Morgan.
More cowbell. Oh, producer Mark, does it feel like you have married a man?
Oh, baby, you sound bad.
I have a deep voice to begin with. I have explained this to you over all of the years, and you've probably witnessed it pretty much my entire life since I was like a mid-teenager. The two responses I get when I answer the phone are, let's just say I'm answering the phone at Lumiere Films. Lumiere Films, well, hello. Or Lumiere Films, yeah, Jeff, is Bob there? So I
would have been the first.
I'm either seducing everyone and charging $3.99 a minute, not that anyone does that anymore because that's probably a 20-year-old device, or I'm a dude. You have been here at the house when the phone has rung, and I have answered the phone, and they have asked if the lady of the house is available. And what I should do is hand the phone to you. It gets worse when I have post-nasal drip, which I have now, and I sound like Harvey Fierstein and B. Arthur.
Now that's a little extreme. No, you don't.
They wouldn't have a baby because they were not heterosexual. But if they had taken a B. Arthur egg and some DNA from Harvey Fierstein and had a baby, it would have lived in my voice. So here we go. I am a dude. I am totally a dude. I think it's really lovely when people say, oh, it's like your sexy voice. No, it is post-nasal drip. I sound like a guy named, I don't know, give me a name. Bubba?
You sound like a girl named Melissa.
Well, that's only because you're married to me, and if you said something different, I would hunt you down. I couldn't run that fast because I'm tired, but I appreciate that. That's very sweet of you. And as far as the Rubik's Cube, my darling, I don't know why anyone would want to do that either, except that if you're like a mathematical genius and you're very good at, visual puzzles, I can see how that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know any. Well, I do. The problem is I do know people who like to do it.
You do. I think you probably have way more friends that are into that than I have, because my friends are probably a little more classy. And
less geeky.
And your friends are a little smarter. No, I don't know. My friends are very smart. I just think people have more things to do. At the time, wasn't it sort of like a stress reliever? Like you keep it on your desk and you're like, I hate my boss. Spin, spin, yellow, blue, red, spin, black, spin, spin.
I don't know, but if I did it, it would just make me more angry.
I'm with you. I had a couple as a youngster. And I do remember one of them I defiled greatly. I may not be smart, but what I am is curious. So that explains why many of my Barbies ended up with what at the time should have been a Dorothy Hamill haircut and just turned out to look like they were monks who had run away from the monastery. Because Mattel made Barbies with hair kind of around the sides. It's sort of a kind of a Donald Trump hair thing. So the hair would kind of come over the head, but if you cut it short, what you had was like a round plastic thing at the crown of her skull that she just looked like sort of fucked up Friar Tuck. It was real weird. So I am curious, and I will cut hair. I will, damage anything to see what it looks like inside. I'll take it apart, never be able to put it back together. So what I did was take a lot of the stickers off of my Rubik's Cube and tried to put them on to where it looked like I had solved it correctly. But you just end up with kind of a janky Rubik's Cube with all your stickers falling off.
I didn't even do that. I just threw them away.
No, because you're a much smarter man and you don't cheat. I am a horrible, horrible cheater. Not really a cheater. I am definitely very curious. I am curious about how things work. Like, hey, if it looks good like this, it'll look great like this. Oh, no, it won't. It just looks awful. So, yes, curiosity, I don't want to say killed the cat or killed Vicki Lynn Morgan, but I do have to say I find her story fascinating, and not just because we share a surname, but because she is a girl like so many others who starts off her life, and not like all other girls live in Colorado Springs, but we know many people who live there, family, friends, a lovely place to live. Unless you're Vicki Lynn Morgan and you're like, fuck this fucking popsicle stand. I am the fuck out. So beautiful Vicki Lynn Morgan is born on August 9th, 1952, a Leo, just like producer Mark. And Leos are they need to be the center of attention. Right, producer Mark?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. So at the age of 16 in 1968, she runs away from home. And I have the feeling she was either pregnant. So in 1968, it's not exactly the summer of love, but there's a whole lot of shit going on. And she might have just been like, I can't have my kid here, because Todd, her son, was born in 1969. I don't know that it was after she got to, I don't have the timing, and no one can narrow it down for me. I don't know who Todd's father is. I don't know what his last name is, unless it's Morgan. But she, moves to Los Angeles in 1968 at 16 and gets a fantastic job as an usher at Grauman's Chinese Theater, which is, I think, what a lot of young girls do. I mean, you move to Los Angeles and you're like, hey, mama, I'm in show business. I'm an usher at Grauman's in Hollywood. And they have stars' hands outside. Not like Gary DeVore hands, but like handprints in the concrete. So at the age of 17, she marries a much older man named Earl Lamb. And she is, a beauty. There's a lot of beauties. I don't know why some of them are destined for weirdness. But so the beautiful Victoria Lynn Morgan, Vicki, is cruising Sunset Boulevard with a tennis racket. When I say cruising, I feel like every word choice I make, I'm going to have to stop and correct. I don't mean like Al Pacino cruising, like in a gay bar. What I mean is she's walking up and down Sunset Boulevard, perhaps just trying to find a tennis club. I don't know what her motivation was. This is a long time ago. And a much older man in his early to mid 50s, I believe he was age 54, Alfred Bloomingdale, comes upon this beautiful chick with perhaps a new baby and a tennis racket. And he says, hey, you're really pretty. And she's like, oh, that's really sweet. Thanks, Grandpa. I'm married to another grandpa. And he's like, I would really like to put my penis in some part of your body that's damp. And they make a deal. And this is sort of the weird part. It amounts to slavery, but Alfred Bloomingdale, he was actually related to the department store people, but he really made his living. And I remember how excited my mom was when she got this. He made his fortune on the very first credit card, which is called the Diners Club. And I'll never forget when my mom got a Diners Club card. I thought she was going to like shit her pants, and she hardly ever wore pants. She wore dresses. She was so, here she is, a divorced mother of one crazy ass daughter. And she's like, I got a Diners Club card. And I'm like, great. What's that mean? You can go like eat for free? Oh, you can eat using your card. And then you pay Alfred Bloomingdale 800,000% interest because he's, Shylock. So, which actually, that's kind of funny. It comes into play later. I hear the name Bloomingdale. I think like crazed Irish potato eater. No. So he buys beautiful Victoria Lynn Morgan from Earl Lamb. He offers him a large cash payment to end his marriage with Vicki Morgan, and he does. And she enters a full-time relationship with Alfred Bloomingdale, and he sets her up an apartment. Now, have I mentioned Alfred Bloomingdale is married? He is married to Betsy Bloomingdale. So Alfred Bloomingdale did what a lot of powerful men do. They marry someone who's appropriate, someone who is upper class, is going to look good on their arm. And Betsy was an attractive woman. She was also age appropriate. So apparently Alfred had a little bit of a thing for the young girls, and he liked to buy them. I'm just kidding. I am hoping she's the only one he bought. But when Mrs. Bloomingdale finds out that he has this cute little girl, and he's paying her, living in an apartment and paying her a stipend, she says, cut it off. You cut it off right now. And he's like, well, I don't wanna, but it's 1973 now. And he, like a lot of powerful men, is ruled by a woman who has his gonads in her designer purse. So he breaks it off with his beloved Vicki Morgan, who really, from all accounts, he did love her. I mean, it's not a love that anyone would really understand, and she loved him. I mean, she was faithful. Well, not really faithful. She was ever.
She met the terms of the contract.
There you go. She did, but even when things weren't always going great, she went back to him. So I'm not going to say daddy issues party of one, but I don't think you leave Colorado Springs for Los Angeles when you're 16, have a baby, marry an old guy, get bought by another old guy, and always come running back to that one old guy. You have options. You're beautiful. You can do, I mean, God forbid you get a job other than working at Grauman's Chinese Theater. But there was a lot of bystanders, onlookers, friends, associates who said they really had a deep affection for each other. When Alfred Bloomingdale would travel, he and his wife had a suite at a hotel, usually a penthouse suite, and Vicki had a suite one floor down. I don't know if he and Betsy had a marriage of convenience where they didn't have, an intimate relationship, but basically, I don't know if Alfred's like, I'm going to the vending machine. Wink, wink.
For 2 hours?
Want a Snickers? 2 hours. Who are you fooling?
That's right.
Who are you having sex with? 2 hours?
That's right. He was 50
What?
something, right? Okay.
He was 54.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a girlfriend?
You could have done that. Oh, I'm 60. Fuck it. Forget it.
2 hours. Sorry. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, not to like air our dirty laundry, literally, but yeah, 2 hours seems like a long time. Yeah, I mean, you could, I'm going to go down to, you need more ice, Betsy? Here, have a Valium with your martini. I'm going to go get you ice and a Snickers at the vending machine on another floor and have my penis in some part of Vicki. So that happened quite often, actually. And one of my favorite stories is Alfred wanted Vicki to get her hair cut. And he liked, Betsy had, appropriate short bob for the time. Vicki had long, flowing blonde hair. And he sent Vicki with a handful of cash to Betsy's hairstylist. And that went on for a while, but apparently one day they had appointments at the same time. And that did not go well. So finally, I think Betsy took that as a personal affront that he's, how dare you send her to, Chaz Dean or whoever. Not Chaz Dean wasn't even, he might be alive, but he sure didn't have a salon back then. So, Jose Ebert, wherever, sent her to her hairstylist and was like that. Your bitch ain't coming to my hair guy. Fuck off, Alfred. So he broke up with her. She spent several years, different marriages. I wouldn't say jobs because that really didn't. She wasn't really that kind of working girl. And she apparently sunk really deep into depression and then, of course, poverty. And she went to a rehab for 3 months and met a man named Marvin Panicost, who was a gay man from San Bernardino County. and they became very, very good friends. And they said that once they left rehab, they were going to live together. So it's 1 week shy of her 3-month stint in rehab, and she's, got almost her 90-day chip. And here comes Alfred swinging his rich dick and says, I love you, and I will buy you a house this time and give you an annual income if you will return to being my sex slave. So now this is 1979. Now, Vicki, in an effort later to get some money from Alfred's estate, calls herself his sex therapist, that she was able to cure him of his BDSM ways. I'm not really sure you need to be cured. I think you just need to find someone who likes, bondage and sadomasochism like you do. I don't think it's a curable thing. Maybe. I don't know why.
Hey.
What?
Like I do?
Like you do. Are you a BDSM guy?
I know what you meant.
What? I'm so confused right now. First of all, you have sex for 2 hours with someone who isn't me. Second of all, you're now into BDSM? What's happening? Are you still the same guy I married? Hello?
Can I be your sex therapist?
You don't need to cure me of my BDSM issues. You know why? I ain't got them.
Thank God.
Yes, I think if I ask you to spank me, you'd be like, why? You weren't bad. You didn't take any extra candy. I'm not going to spank you. Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. No, that's what I'm saying. You find another grown-ass adult and you have fun, whatever. So I think that was just her way of saying she provided a service for him, and that's why she needed to get paid. This is later. So that's 1979. He actually puts her up in a very beautiful house, but it's in the valley. Wah, wah. And she wanted something in Beverly Hills. She probably wanted the house next to Betsy, and that probably wasn't going to happen. She has a full-time maid. She has a valet. I don't know if that's how you say it or if I'm being Anthony Hopkins like. A driver, I guess. I don't know what he drove her around in, or he or she, whoever. Probably Uber. I don't know that detail. But in 1982, well, before I get to that, I'm going to say that Alfred Bloomingdale was here's where sort of the intrigue comes in, was part of Ronald Reagan's kitchen cabinet. Now, that term made me go like, in a higher pitched voice than I have now, where I sound like a dude, because I was researching this last week. And I guess this came about with Andrew Jackson, and he called his a ginger cabinet. Now, I'm going to assume that it wasn't because all of his friends had red hair. I think it was where you put ginger to dry or something. I don't know. It could be a bathroom cabinet or a bedroom cabinet, or it could be your man cave cabinet. But so Ronald Reagan had a kitchen cabinet, and it had a group of self-made millionaires like himself. Joseph Coors. Hey, guess what his family founded? Beer. Ed Meese, who, ended up being Ronald Reagan's attorney general from 85 to 88. He was a California attorney. Thomas Rowe, a businessman who came up with Builder Marts of America, and has since this company has turned into Guardian Building Products. He's probably dead now. Actually, he died in 2000, right? And another member of the kitchen cabinet, Alfred Bloomingdale, because Betsy Bloomingdale was good friends with none other than that tarted up whore who got pregnant and married a future president, Nancy Reagan. They were bestie friends.
Oh, dear.
bestie friends. Now, Nancy Reagan gave Betsy Bloomingdale tips on how to remake your man. And I'm guessing, Ronald Reagan was already on a bit of a trajectory when he married Nancy, and he was married, right, with kids? He was already married with kids, and he meets Nancy Reagan, whore from Colorado Springs. I'm kidding. I don't know where she's from. But, she's just I feel like she's just a nicer dressed Vicki Morgan.
Oh, my goodness.
What am I going to get shot in the head for this?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, what do you think? Is there a problem? Because that's my opinion. You know what? It's my podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So Nancy Reagan taught Betsy Bloomingdale how to polish up her man. And one of my favorite stories is that I guess Betsy got Alfred to be a denier, not a Holocaust denier exactly, but a denier of his ethnic heritage. And apparently, like a lot of rich, intelligent men, maybe who don't know how to communicate correctly in social situations, he would be at a party and in the middle of a conversation, just like ebulliently exclaim, "I used to be Jewish." I love that story with all of my heart, except I can't say ebulliently. I should have chosen.
Nobody can say that word.
I should have chosen another adjective.
You get extra points for attempting it.
Thank you. And with copious amounts of secretions in my nose and throat. I used to be Jewish. Like out of nowhere. I could just see, Betsy just like patting him on the knee. Yes, that's good, Alfred. Why don't you go over there and get a canapé? Why don't you go over there and get me a horse duvers? I want something to eat, and I want to shove it in your mouth so you'll shut the fuck up. So Alfred was still very much in love with Vicki, and they saw each other quite often. He actually paid her $18,000 a month, which, in the late 70s, early 80s, not too shitty. I think she could squeeze by. Most whores could squeeze by. Sorry. Most sex therapists who help old men not be whatever could squeeze by on that. So in 1982, Alfred summons Vicki to his hospital room, and he had let some symptoms go by for a long time, and he asked Betsy to leave. Vicki comes into his hospital room, and he tells her, "I have terminal cancer. I have a few months to live. I just want you to know I've made provisions for you. You're going to be cared for. You're never going to have to worry about money again. And I love you." And she stayed with him at the hotel room. I'm sorry, at the hospital room, like, just basically sleeping on his body. And he died 2 days later. And what do you think happened when Alfred died?
Oh, I'm sure all kinds of hilarity ensued.
I don't know that it was really funny. I bet Betsy was rubbing her hands together like, "This is hilarious, cunt. Get it and get out." So Betsy cuts off Vicki. So Vicki is slowly going broke. She is selling everything that Alfred gave her. Jewelry, cars. She meets up with her old friend, Marvin Panicoast, and they end up getting an apartment in West Hollywood. That does not go well. They'd only lived there like 3 weeks together. It doesn't go well. He no longer has a job, but I love his job. His job until a few months before they moved into the apartment together was as a Xerox operator at William Morris Agency. Now, some of you know I have had some jobs in the entertainment industry, and like Vicki Morgan coming to LA and working at Grauman's Theater, it's not like that old showbiz joke where you're like, "Mom, I'm in show business." "Oh, really? What are you doing?" "I'm shoveling the shit up from the elephants at the Ringling Brothers Circus." I never shoveled shit. I mean, metaphorically, perhaps. I never shoveled actual human or animal excrement. I did work for a manager who had a cat with a heart condition, and I did have to give him his heart pills. And he was 18 pounds, and you had to turn him over on his back on your lap, and he had sharp, sharp, sharp motherfucking teeth. And you had to shove his fucking pill down his throat. And that motherfucker lived to be like 20. He was something else. But anyway, so that's one of the worst quote unquote entertainment jobs I had. That was only when she was out of town. Thank God. She loved doing it because she just loved shoving pills down her sweet little cat's face. It wasn't sweet at all. It was horrible. So I can just imagine tall, handsome, now very ill with AIDS-related illnesses, Marvin Pannicoast copying scripts at William Morris for entitled assholes to go out on auditions that they're not going to book. I would probably set the Xerox on fire, or like that scene from Office Space where they roll the printer or copier out to a field and just take ball bats to it. Hey, wait a minute. Foreshadowing. So things are not going so great for Vicki. She actually files a palimony suit, and she gets attorney Marvin Mitchelson to represent her, which is pretty fascinating shit right there. So it's an $11 million lawsuit. In today's world, it would be like about $30 million. So $11 million lawsuit for financial compensation as Bloomingdale's mistress. Now, that's not exactly palimony. That isn't Lee Marvin and Michelle, whatever her name was. It wasn't because she was his girlfriend for 7 years. It was because she was his, mistress and sex therapist who cured him of his BDSM. I'm so sorry. There's nothing more fun than hearing someone laugh and then cough like some old fucking Marlboro cowboy, and I don't even smoke. So Vicki gets actually a lot of pretrial media coverage, and she is really beautiful. And some of it is particularly embarrassing to, Alfred's friends in Washington. Now, Ronald Reagan's the president, and Marvin Mitchelson was actually a friend of Ronald Reagan's. And they start sort of talking quietly about sex tapes. So Vicki Morgan gets a deal that is completely unsubstantiated, and no one will say it happened, except for maybe Marvin Pannicoast, who was the Xerox guy, gets a deal with William Morris Agency, literary, to write a tell-all book about the wealthy and powerful politicians who had been clients of hers, because I'm guessing Alfred couldn't be in the kitchen cabinet without saying, hey, I got this sweet little honey, and she has a hanging Asian fuck chair, and she'll spin on your dick for you, and her jaw unhinges like a snake. You like that, right? Here, let me show you. I don't know if that happened at all. I like to embellish. At least I didn't try to say ebullient anymore. Oh my God, I fucking said it right. Ha ha ha, awesome. So in 1983, just 11 months after Alfred dies, July 7th actually, things are really going bad. Marvin Pannicoast and Vicki Morgan are going to be thrown out of their 3-bedroom condo in West Hollywood. The place is just stacked with moving boxes. They're probably not getting along really well. And at 3:20 a.m., Marvin Pannicoast walks into the West Hollywood Police Department. No, North Hollywood. I don't know how he got from West Hollywood to North Hollywood. And if you don't live here, they're not close. It sounds like one would be north and one would be west. No. You have to cross hills, Laurel Canyon, Coldwater, take a right on the, I don't need the directions. Anyway, they're not that close. So he walks at 3:20 a.m. On, I guess, July 8th. He walks into a police station and says, in North Hollywood, and says, I just killed someone. Now, I'm going to guess the North Hollywood police have to then turn it over to the West Hollywood police, because that's how that shit goes. And they find her. They find Vicki Morgan sprawled out on her bed, face down, beaten to death with a baseball bat. There's the baseball bat part that came in. I think when he got done using it to kill the Xerox machine out in the field, he took the baseball bat and then beat the shit out of poor Vicki. Now, he ended up recanting and saying he didn't do it. But he was out of his mind with an AIDS-related illness and a cocaine issue. And sort of led the police to believe there was a conspiracy. It could have been Betsy Bloomingdale. It could have been Nancy Reagan. I'm just saying. It probably wasn't either of those. But to think that it was makes me laugh really hard inside. So poor Marvin Pannicoast is brought up on the charges and found guilty. It was a very short trial. The jury was out for about 3 hours. And he is in a prison in Chino, and he dies in 1991 undergoing treatment for his AIDS-related illness. It turned out to be a cardiopulmonary thing that actually took him down, which, I guess could happen. So Vicki gets a lot of attention. A couple of books are written about her. Gordon Bassich wrote a book called Beautiful Bad Girl, the Vicki Morgan story. And then in 1990, Dominic Dunn wrote a fictional portrayal of her, a book called An Inconvenient Woman, which is pretty fascinating, if you ask me. A couple of shows on the ID channel, one from several years ago and one from this year, Murder Most Obsessive, which I thought was interesting. I'm not sure that Marvin Panicoast was really obsessed with her. He, said there was something very special about her. She was really, blah, blah, blah. So I think he loved her. I don't know that, they were friends. I don't know that he was obsessed with her, but they said that to make a living, she became a sex worker when she got, which was something she was used to. Because she's a BDSM therapist. So, she becomes a sex worker. I'm not laughing. I am laughing, but I'm laughing at something else I thought of from a long time ago. That's what I'm laughing at. So they said that Marvin became jealous of her having all of these men. And I was like, well, is he jealous because she's spending time with them, or he's jealous because she can get the men and he can't? I didn't understand that, because there wouldn't really be a reason for him to be jealous. I don't really understand that. Maybe he was jealous because she got a literary deal at William Morris, and he had to be a Xerox operator. What? So her $11 million suit continues, after Bloomingdale is dead, after she is dead, and people who know and love her try to get the case to continue so that her son Todd could have the money. Now, Todd was visiting his grandmother in Colorado Springs at the time of her murder. So he, he didn't know what happened. He did know what happened, but he wasn't, around to see the horror of potentially a gay man or Nancy Reagan beating the shit out of his mother with a ball bat. So this columnist for the Washington Post has such a poetic way of explaining things. He was like other dream walkers in Southern California, Vicki Morgan discovered men and sex too early. And then he kind of goes into like slut shaming her and saying, why are we talking about this case? She was a whore, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, gee, at first she's a dream walker, walking on her dreams. And then suddenly she's, she just wants a piece of the pie, and she wants, unearned wealth. And, hi. Yeah. Me too. You better not slut shame me, Peter Collier, or I'll kick you in the nads. So all of these books, these two books, posit that she was going to turn over the sex tapes. And even Marvin Mitchelson said she died with a lot of secrets. I'm going to guess she paid his attorney's fees with her hanging fuck chair. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that.
You're so cynical.
I'm really cynical. But years after both of them have died, they actually get a settlement for Todd. In the amount of like $240,000. A superior court judge, dismissed most of the suit, saying, it's no more really than a wealthy older married man and a young, well-paid mistress. Their relationship was explicitly founded on paid sexual services. But someone, and I don't have the list of the judge's name, they get a small, maybe it's the superior court judge, Christian Markey, gets, a $240,000 settlement for for Todd, her son, in Colorado Springs, which, that's going to buy a shitload of tacos in Colorado Springs. I think that's lovely that Todd got something, because after all, his mom had some talent that she could be paid for. She got old men to buy her things. That's a talent. I can't get old men to do shit for me, right, Producer Mark?
Hey, I just fed the dogs.
You did feed the dogs.
Get off my case.
I'm so sorry about the coughing. It's so awful. It's so awful. So the next time your husband, wife, spouse wants you to ride around on their back and beat them while they drool, consider making notes and say, you know what? March 31st, $1,000. And more cowbell.
And remember, if you've got a tip for Melissa, give her a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com.